Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a face, and a space of love, a spiritual community teaching universal principles and applying divine wisdom to empower our lives and the lives of others. We're so happy you're here with us today on our maiden voyage in bringing forth this hybrid service. Took us a little getting this morning. We had some ups and downs and ins and outs, but as always, the divine mind of God has set a stage that is perfect, has set a platform that allows each and every one of us to open our hearts, to open our minds, and to be available for the use of spirit. And so this month's theme, as you may know, is on work, enjoying work. But today's topic is activating your dream, because that is how we put this work into action, by activating our dreams. But now the first thing we must ask ourselves is, what is a dream? What is a dream? Now, some of you, if you're into poetry, you may have recognized or you may remember a poem by Langston Hughes called A Dream Deferred. And he speaks of, what are you going to do with that dream? Are you going to elevate it to a high place, or are you going to let it turn to a raisin in the sun? Because you see, when we look at life in terms of our dreams, in terms of the purpose, the idea, and the spiritual spark that God has placed in us, it is ours to cultivate it, to nurture it. And when we do that, when we activate our dreams, it not only empowers ourselves, it empowers the whole environment. Everything that's in us, around us, through us, all about us. And so it is important that we activate the dream. It's important that we activate the dream. Now, one thing I like about this title is this word activate or activation, because that means first and foremost, there's some action. You can't just have the dream and don't do anything with it. Oftentimes, those are called nightmares, right? And none of us really want those nightmares, because we have these images in our head. We have these feelings. We have these sensations. But if we don't allow them to be activated, they can haunt us. They can make us feel inept or afraid or weak or self-conscious. But we know that God has put us here to evolve. Now, when we look at dreams and try to put them in perspective of what they could be, one of the best stories I think there is the story of Joseph in Egypt. And if you know that story, his brothers were jealous of him because he did have the power of dreams. He did allow God to give an image of what was possible, and he activated it. But his brothers were jealous, and they threw him in a well. And an Egyptian caravan was coming through to get water. They found him, they took him, and he was in the court, and he wound up in prison. He wound up in prison. And while he was in prison, he conversed with all of the other inmates, and they began to notice that this dude got some power. He got vision. He got insight. And he would tell them these dreams. And when they got out, he asked, he said, make sure you tell Pharaoh about these dreams. And as you know, the story goes, he dreamt about there was going to be a famine, and that we needed to put stuff in the storehouse, and we needed to prepare to work through this dream, to work with this dream. And so that's what we need to do now. We need to begin to work with the dream of coming alive as we come out of 2.5 years of a pandemic. And for us, we've been blessed to find a perfect space to do our hybrid services, which are only going to get better, which are only going to grow, because I have a dream. Now, I'm not mimicking the Reverend Doctor. I'm just saying I have a dream. I have a dream that we can create a community that is supportive, that is loving, that is in partnership with everything around us. Because that's what we need today. That's what we need in this time of reawakening. It's like we've been in a dream for 2.5 years. And part of that dream often appeared like a nightmare. And so we want to wipe that out of our mind. We want to get rid of the nightmarish part, but we want to activate the dream. And the first thing we have to do to activate this dream is we've got to capture it. I'm sure here in Colorado, if you're here or in the Southwest here, you're familiar with dream catchers, right? We have these dream catchers that the Native American tradition says that you need dream catchers to catch the dreams and let the nightmares go through. Well, that's where we are right now. We are casting a dream catcher so that we can go out and activate. And to do that, to capture that dream, additionally, other than the dream catcher, something that we're all familiar with is a vision board or a dream journal or just a pad and pencil. But we have to be able to capture that dream because we know dreams can be what? They can be flighty. How many times are you in the dream and you're dreaming, you said, ooh, this is good. I want to remember this when I wake up. And you wake up and it's like, uh-oh, where did it go? Where did the dream go? How do we activate it now? I didn't capture it. That's what we have to begin to do this. Now, these ideas of capturing it may not work for you. There are many ways to capture the dream, but you must begin to work on capturing the dream. Because those too can become nightmares. When you have a vision of something greater, when you have an image of yourself that is bigger and better and activated by the power of God, you become Superman or Superwoman. Because you know that that dream is powered. It is fueled by the divine spirit. By the divine spirit. Now, I have this first slide, and if you could bring that up. The Great Awakening. This is from Romans 13:11. Now is the high time to awake out of sleep. The belief in a life apart from good is a dream from which we must awake. If we are to taste the waters of reality which flow from the source of life. Ernest Holmes. And that's where we are now. We are in a moment of awakening. I know during the pandemic, that word was used so much, people, I think they advocated for it to be taken out of the dictionaries. We used it too much. Too much awakening. But really, we need a moment now to awake to this dream, to activate this dream of a world that works for all. A world that works for all. That means the humans, the animals, the plants, the rocks, the molecules, because it's all connected. We know that God is in, through, and around all things. There is no place where God is not. So therefore, we have to awaken everything because it's the integral part of life that makes it healthy, that makes it livable, that makes it exciting. And so when we can do that, when we can wake with a dream that includes everything and allow the power of God to motivate it, to activate it, to move it in a way that individually we can't. We can't. There's a saying that goes, the richest man in the world still had to call a plumber because he wasn't a plumber. He didn't know what to do. He had all the money, but there was still some aspect of working together to activate the dream of having a nice abode, a home that was lovable and livable. And that's where we are today. We are looking to have a home, i.e., planet Earth, that is livable and lovable where we can support one another. And the only way to do it is to activate the dream. It's to activate the dream. But now that you've captured the dream and you've had it and you're ready, the next thing that we have to really dig deep in, do you believe in the dream? Do you believe in the dream? Or is it just a flash across your face, across your mind? Because if your dream is believable, then you can achieve it, right? Anything, if I can believe it, I can achieve it, as the saying goes. But see, we can take that a little bit further. We can take that to it is doable because it is filled with the Spirit of God. Because we know God has no limitations. There are no blockages. There's no fear. There's no anything that will allow you, with God at the helm, to be amiss. If something goes off course, we need to trim the sail, which means we need to get rid of some ego. We need to get rid of some fear. There are these other things that may be there as we are sailing through this dream that needs to be adjusted, but it's not God. That's for sure. And God says to a thing, be, and it is. That's all. There's no, oh, what was that? None of that. It is be, and it is. And so that's where we are right now. We are in a place where we have the power, the presence of God in and out of us to say be. To be a healthy community, to be good neighbors, to be in good relationship with others, with the planet. And so on this next slide, we have this idea. When an invisible intelligence to guide and an immutable law to direct, let us take our place in any legitimate activity and thus cause our dream to come to full fruition. Put ourselves in right relationship with God. Put ourselves in right relationship with the dream. Because that is where all power is. That is where the presence is in that moment, in that power. And so I'm going to give you 3 things to help us work with this, to work with this dream. And so I want to invite everyone right now, just for a moment, to do 2 things. First, after you close your eyes, take a moment to think about what is your personal dream. What is it that you personally are dreaming for, are looking for? And then after that, take another moment. What are you dreaming for in terms of your community, the world you live in, and how you can make it better? And so I know that's not a long time, but hopefully that gave you a quick moment to glimpse. And when you go home and for the rest of this week, you can work on that. But now the question is, what did you see? And you don't have to tell anybody. God already knows, so you don't even need to tell God. You just need to communicate with yourself. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you imagine that your dream could do to become true, to be activated? And now that you have some glimpse of that, the real question becomes, are you ready? Are you ready to step forward? Are you ready to move into this idea of this dream of creating a world that works for everyone? Because if you are, there are 3 things that we need. There are 3 things that we need. Number 1, the presence of power to know that God resides within you. Not think about it, not kind of hem and haw about it, but to know that the power of God resides in you and you can bring forth any and everything in relationship with God. And so to do that, to activate that power, there are a lot of tools. There's prayer, there's meditation, there's contemplation. To get a real good feeling, a real good vibration that will generate the vision of that dream. Because we know vision and vibration are all just mutable images of divine energy. We know that. And when we're having a dream, we're having divine energy move through our mind. They give us certain images and feelings. Have any of you ever had a dream where you actually could smell something in the dream? Think about that. You're asleep. For all intents purposes, you are unconscious, but you're smelling cakes or whatever it might be in the dream. That is a power and a presence of God that is available not only in sleep, but in every waking moment of our lives. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to transform that divine energy into action, into loving action. And now once we've got that relationship with the power, the presence of God down, the next thing is, this is the bad one. I know I shouldn't say bad, but I did already, so I'm going to just stay with it. Just stay with me now. Practice. You have to practice. And most of us, we get a little antsy sometimes when we got to practice, because that means I might have to get up early. That might mean I can't have that ice cream cone I had over there. It could be a whole lot of things that keep you from practicing. But like anything, you have to practice. We know this week we had a double whammy, or last couple of weeks, a double whammy in the tennis world. Serena Williams retired, and then now Federer has retired. Between the two of them, they've won 43 Grand Slams at ages that it was thought to be impossible. Serena won her last championship. She was still pregnant when she won, and then went on to play 4 more times after that. You think she had a dream? You think she activated that dream? You think she understood the power, the presence of God within her when they said, this is not something little black girls do? Not only did she do it, she did it better than anyone else around for a very long time. She had the power, the presence to know that there was a God that is always there. She understood, and her father, as we know if we watched the movie, he understood. You got to practice. Even in the rain. If you saw the movie, they had him out in the rain practicing. Because you don't know what conditions, you don't know what atmosphere God is going to put you in that you have to do to activate this dream. And so once we practice, and that sometimes takes time. But once we've done that, once we've got the power, we've practiced, and we're confident in our skills, we have to be persistent, and we have to persevere. Persistent and persevere. Now, they may sound close, but they're two different things. Persistence means I will do it over and over and over again. To persevere means I will do it regardless of the circumstances. I will do it regardless of my fear. I will do it regardless of my ego getting out of check to bring this dream to life. And if any of us have any idea of what the ultimate dream is, almost all sacred traditions say this, but I think it's captured in the Bible as, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth and said, be, and it is. All of this was created. All of this from an image in the mind of God, from a dream, if you will, as is described in the Vedic traditions. that dream became us. That dream is us. And for us to continue moving forward with that dream, we have to activate it. And if you could bring up that next slide that I think encapsulates this whole idea. Seek to make your work a prayer. You're believing an act. You're living an art. It is then that your object of your faith will be made visible to you. It is then that you shall kiss the lips of your desire. Now, Rumi read that early in his reading, but it should have a different context now. It's a little more contextual into how we begin to pray. Make your whole life a prayer. All that you do. When you laugh, it should be a prayerful laugh. When you argue, it should be a prayerful argue. Oh yeah, we do argue. It happens. My wife, she'll tell you. But it's a prayerful argue. It's an argument to elevate the spirit of both of us beyond a place where we have forgotten the dream of God, which is to be in harmony, to work together. And so if we can capsulize the power of the presence of God, to understand that we have to be persistent, we have to persevere, then we can move into a space that no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstances are, we can achieve. And so, as always, I like to leave a couple of ideas for the week for us to work on these ideas and to bring them in our life and put them to work. And so if you could bring up that next slide for the call to action, there's 2 call to actions for this week. What is keeping you from taking the next step towards your dreams? Think about it this week. Think about it. And then next thing is record your dreams. Get a dream journal. Get a vision board. Record the dream in the vision board if you're more visual than you are kinesthetic in terms of writing. But whatever it is, we have to begin. There is no longer a place on the sideline. We can no longer be on the sidelines. We have to begin to form relationships, partnerships, joint dreams, and begin to live a life that is filled with love. And so before we go into prayer, if you could bring up the affirmation for this week so that we can look to it to give us strength. The dream of God is awake and alive in me. The dream of God is awake and alive in me. And so as we just take that into our very being, let's go into prayer. And so as we take this moment called now, this moment where the dream of life, the dream of God, the dream of each and every one of us present in person and online is activated by a power that has no equal, a power that is guiding, a power that is loving, a power that is all encompassing. We just take that in for a moment and allow that power, that presence, that divine wisdom to resonate throughout our bodies, to activate our hearts, our minds, our very lives to be beacons of hope, to be dreams in action, to be the very instruments that God uses each and every day to create this world that works for all. And so I know right here, right now, that in this moment, that everything is activated, everything is moving, everything is powering up to deliver the wisdom, the understanding that is needed now as always. And so as we take inventory of ourselves and we look at the goodness that we have and the gratitude that we have and the grace that has been provided us, we do so knowing that we are now obligated to share that with others, to activate the dreams of our lives, to be a beacon that allows others to activate their dreams, because it takes a collective dream to create a community, a world that is working for everything. And so as we activate that in our lives and we dream a greater dream, we just give thanks. We give thanks for the opportunity to be able to look around us and be inspired by the various things in our lives. We give thanks for the opportunity to dream jointly with others, to come together in community and create something that has never been done before. And so that's what we're hoping to do here today and every day. And so with that, I just release this prayer into the law, knowing that there is no place where God is not, and that there is nothing that is too big, too powerful, too audacious for God to do. And so with that, I release, I let go, and I know that it is absolutely so. And so it is. Amen, amen, and amen.